You're listening to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. And now, your host.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be listening to the show around the world or in the comfort of your own home. I am Paranormal Phil. Now, tonight we were supposed to be joined by my guest, Derek Grosskurth, also known as Truth Seeker. But apparently he hasn't called in. I've tried tried calling him through Skype. So hopefully he'll call in tonight for the show. Hopefully he didn't forget. I sent him an email, which I'm about to check right now. And yeah, he hasn't sent me a message back. So hopefully he didn't forget or something didn't happen with him. So tonight we're going to talk about, hopefully he'll call in and we'll get into encounters with the paranormal, with his encounters that he's had. But until he does call in, we'll get into a few things. Almost like an open lines type thing, but not really. Kind of cross between open lines and Ask Paranormal Phil, which is my show tomorrow night, which I want to talk about that real quick. Tomorrow night we're going to be talking about time travel on Ask Paranormal Phil, which only can be heard on or seen on Talk in the Night Facebook page. So oh wow, Jennifer. Now the chat is open for Spreaker. Pop in and say hi. Let me know you're listening to the show. But for those that were expecting my guest, Derek Grosskurth, he has yet to call in. I'm going to try and give him a call again on Skype. Hopefully he picks up this time. Let's see if he picks up. Nope. My guest has yet to pick up. So, like I said, hopefully something didn't happen or something come up. I sent him an email, let him know that we're on the air soon. I need him to call in so we can get talking about tonight and everything like that. So, like I said, until my guest calls in, if you're in the Spreaker chat, I'll take questions and everything like that. And also I want to talk about something that I just posted in the Fans of Talk in the Night Facebook group. If you're not a member of it, ask to join, and you can post stuff about the paranormal or the show, or even ask questions through there. But I just posted something in there about, it was done a while back. I don't know exactly how long ago, but it was from a former bishop of the Catholic Church saying that hell and that was made up by the Catholic Church to scare us. So be sure to check that video out. And I believe what he's saying. Because they do a lot of things to try and scare us into things to where we are subservient to the Catholic Church. And of course, being a Wiccan, I don't believe in the heaven and hell thing, which I've mentioned before, where I believe there's a higher plane of existence or lower plane of existence. There is no heaven or hell. in the sense that the Catholic Church wants us to believe. Now, I know that might tu- uh, turn off some people by saying that, but you know what? Everybody to their own belief system. I'm not trying to change anybody's belief system, but I'm just mentioning what I believe, and that is that I don't think there is the quote unquote Bible heaven and hell. So, I mean, as if you watch the video, he mentions that the Catholic Church wants us to be born again because they can't control adults. They can't control grown-ups. And if we're born again, it's like us being a child, so they can control us. And if we grow up, what we need to, like he said, we need to grow up. We need to take responsibility for what we do, not rely on the church to tell us everything. And like I said, I've run across a few people like that believe wholeheartedly in the Christian faith and everything like that, and that to them, that's what they do. And that's what they believe in. And like I said, I'm not here to change anybody's belief system or anything like that. Like I said, for those that just tuned in, I'm waiting on my guest to call in. I've tried calling him via Skype. He has yet to call in. Hopefully he does call in or sends me a message soon. Actually, while I'm waiting on him to call, if he does call in, let me share the post around, because I forgot to do that. But yeah, no, tonight we were supposed to be talking with my guest about encounters with the paranormal, his encounters with the paranormal. And he has yet to call in. And of course, he is 2 hours ahead of us, or 2 hours ahead of me, I should say. And hopefully he didn't fall asleep like I did. I was supposed to do a Facebook Live at 7:30, and I thought, okay, I can lay down, sit back and relax for about 15 minutes, and then I'll be ready to go to do a Facebook Live. I wake up at 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh, wow. So, for those that were waiting for the Facebook Live video at 7:30, I'm sorry. Just this weather, it's really cold right now. We're below 40 degrees, and that's cold for us here in Southern California. And of course, earlier we had a little bit of hail because I stepped outside to look. I heard hail on the roof, or hitting the roof, and I was like, "What the heck is going on out there?" Well, I look outside, and of course, it's hailing. Uh, but it was cold enough to probably get snow today. I mean, the snow level this morning on the news mentioned about the snow level dropping down to 1,500 feet. And of course, later in the afternoon, it rose to 2,000 feet. So, I'm just sharing this video, this post about being live now. And if I could get other people to help share the post around, I'm about to share it in the Talk in the Night on the Talk in the Night Facebook page. Or if you're friends with me on Facebook, share that one too. Um, but yeah, like I said, we were supposed to welcome my guest Derek Grosskurth, but he has not tuned in yet. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying throughout the night to contact him, and hopefully I will get him on this um, show here. I'm gonna try again via Skype here real quick. See if I can't get it connect with him. Nope. And of course, he hasn't accepted my Skype request, so I can't send him a message through Skype. I just sent him an email. I even went to his Facebook page and sent him a message like, "Derek, come on, we're live in a couple minutes." I know Gary had him. Gary Anderson with Night Dreams had him on his show, and I don't know how that if he called in on time or if he was late there. If Gary's listening, pop in the chat and let me know, or send me a message on Facebook. But of course, he's in Alabama. Mobile, if I can talk, mobile, yeah, okay, Alabama. Okay, I'll get it out. I swear, I promise. Um, if I do sound a little bit nasally tonight, it's because we had also winds earlier today, and add to the cold, it just made it feel even colder. Um, so my nose has been all stuffy kind of all day. So um, it's just been hell with the weather. So, like I said, we're gonna get into a couple things. We're gonna make this show a little bit about. Let me talk about my encounters with the paranormal. I know I've shared quite a bit, but yeah, say that 10 times fast. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Um, but until my guest calls in, and hopefully he calls in. If not, the show will be about me, and then you can call in the second hour and ask me questions about my encounters. So let's do that. Um, well, let's start off at the beginning. My first encounter with the paranormal was a ghostly sighting when I was 5 years old. And that was when I realized that I could see and communicate with spirits. Growing up in Riverside, California, of course, my parents, or at least my mom, could see spirits. So I was, she kind of enforced the belief in me that I can see the spirits, unlike some people where they're told that it's not real, it's just their imagination, stuff like that. And so it just reinforced my abilities to see and communicate with spirits. And what happened is I was 5 years old, came out of my room, went to the kitchen to grab something to drink out of I wanted some milk out of the um, refrigerator. I was thirsty. It was late at night. My parents were asleep. And of course, I went out to the kitchen and there was a little boy spirit playing with a ball on top of the refrigerator, of all things. Now, you might be asking, how did I see way up there? Well, I saw from a distance. From the doorway that I had to walk into to the refrigerator, it was a little bit of a distance so I could look up there and see. So at first I was like, okay, I know I don't have a baby brother, so who's this little boy? um, but I looked up and I saw this little boy playing with the ball, and the spirit saw me and tossed this ball at me. Now, of course, it wasn't real. The ball wasn't real, but he tossed it towards me, and then it kind of in midair dissipated because I was going to catch it, and I looked back up, and he was gone. So I was like, okay, got my milk, went back to bed. That was my first encounter with the paranormal. And ever since then, I've been able to see and communicate with spirits. Now, welcome back, Mike. Like I said, if you're pop in the chat here, or not Mike, Bill, I'm sorry. Welcome back, Bill. Um, so, as I was saying, that was my first encounter with the paranormal. Now, as I was saying, the chat for Spreaker is open. If you click on the player for, or click on the link for the tonight's show, you should see a little player with a chat bubble. Click on that and pop in the chat. Say hi if you're listening. If you're listening on TuneIn or YouTube, I cannot see it there. I'm only in the Spreaker chat. So, that's the only chat I'm looking at. Now, we're coming up very quickly on the first break, and my guest still hasn't called, still hasn't emailed, and it's weird. But let's get in back to a little more about me and my encounters with the paranormal. Now, as a teenager, or growing up further, I could still see spirits and everything like that. So it didn't really bother me. After that first one, it's like, okay. But growing up, I would go to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, every year with my parents for the Calgary Stampede. And of course, when you're a kid, or even early teenagers, most kids would want a toy while they're on a vacation. Whereas me, I wanted a book on Bigfoot and everything like that. And of course, I got that book in Wyoming. I was traveling through Wyoming. We were getting close to Yellowstone. And so I was like, forget, my sister wanted the toys. I wanted the book just so I could read up on this kind of stuff. Because I had seen spirits, but I had never known about Bigfoot until that time. And so I just, it's like, ooh, this seems interesting. Let me read up on it. Now, of course, I don't have that book anymore, but I kind of wish I did. But that was, I want to say, the early 80s. Bill, yeah, I'm gonna make my own book eventually when I get time. Maybe while I'm have a little downtime. And for those that did not tune in to um, the Facebook Live about tonight's show, which part of it has not come true yet because my guest hasn't called in. But the future of the show, Talking Tonight, has, and I'm going to try calling Skype again, um, might be in jeopardy for a little bit, but I will bring it back. And I don't have my guests. I don't have, I can't seem to reach my guests. Hello, Steph. Thank you for tuning in to the show. For once again, for those tuning in, my guest has yet to call in and everything like that, and I can't seem to reach him. I sent him a message on Facebook, email, everything. I have not heard back from him. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe since he's in Alabama, southern Alabama, I'll say that. That's easier to say than Mobile, Alabama, which I just said it. uh, but yeah, yeah, maybe they have a storm back there that's causing problems for him connecting with the show tonight. And hopefully he didn't forget, which I got a feeling that he's going to send me an email later on after the show saying, oops, sorry, I forgot. um, I hope he didn't, but if he did, that's okay. I'll schedule him at a later time when things are going again. But like I said, I want to mention about, for those that missed my video earlier about the show, due to unforeseen circumstances, I might have to quit doing Talk on the Night radio show for a little bit. But I will still do Ask Paranormal Phil every Tuesday night because that, however, does not require internet access. I can do it through my data plan. But the radio show does require internet access. And if I'm thinking about moving to Texas in a couple weeks, so while I'm making the transition, the move, and everything like that, it's going to be tough. But I got some pretty understanding listeners, especially the ones in the chat: Mike, Nicole, Bill, Jennifer, and all my friends. Everything. I got great listeners. Now, Steph, she is. I just connected with her today on LinkedIn and everything like that. I want to actually plug her group real quick. Just real quick, if I can get to it. She is part of Paranormal Angel, co-founder, lead investigator, Spirit, Supernatural and Paranormal Investigations and Research in Texas. So I just wanted to, yeah, Mike, good eats, yes. Texas barbecue is pretty damn good. Uh, I've lived in Texas. I love the Texas weather, the people, and I got friends and family in Texas, so I've lived there just south of Fort Worth before, and I've lived in San Antonio, Texas. So I like that country feel, and that's where I want to be, out in the country. You're welcome, Steph. Like I said, tonight we were supposed to welcome my guest, Derek Grosskurth, as we talk about his encounters with the paranormal. And I almost want to give out his website so you can check it out, but until he calls in or I can get a hold of him, which I'm going to try again real quick because we got 4 minutes before the break. And of course, all the music that you hear tonight for the commercial breaks is his music. So I might as well give you his website. And it's all linked up to the show's website, talkinthenight.weebly.com. My guest, Derek, who was supposed to be here, his website is truseeka.com. That is TRUTHSEEKAH.com. You can find that. You can find links to his. Actually, I forgot to link that up with the show tonight. But you can find that. You can find. Let's see if I can get this working. Alright, you can find a link to his website on the homepage in a second, because I'm about to link it up under the Tonight Show thing, because I'm hoping he calls in soon, so I don't have to do the whole show by myself. But like I said, let's talk about some more of my encounters with the paranormal. Now, I didn't really get involved in the paranormal until late 1992. Yeah, he might have forgotten Nicole. Like I said, I sent him a message, email, and everything like that. And I'm pretty sure I'll get a message that, oops, sorry, I forgot. But as I was saying, my first encounter, or not first encounter, but my start in the paranormal field started in November of 92. And that was up in Northern California. I was working and living up there, working for the California Conservation Corps. And, of course, I had my very first and only Bigfoot sighting out in the Redwood Forest. And, of course, I didn't have a camera at the time, and smartphones were not invented yet, so I couldn't take a picture like that, and I couldn't bring a camera anyways out into the middle of the forest, because we're out there cutting logs, clearing streams, working in cold streams up there, getting logs out for the salmon and stuff like that. And well, I was out there doing my business out in the forest, because there's no potties out there. Of course, we didn't have no porta potties. We just went out there and did our thing. But yeah, I was there, and I watched this creature. It was probably about 12 feet tall, hairy, and did not look like a human, did not look like an ape. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to move, because as big as that creature looks, he might tear me from limb to limb. So I didn't want to do anything. But we are at the half, so we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Right after the short commercial break.
To the mountains we go, conversing with Elo. Down to the rivers we swim, conversing with Elo. To the mountains we go, conversing with Elo. Down to the rivers we swim, conversing with Elo. Illuminated by fire, but I can't be faded. The truth is so complicated, Merkaba is activated. The simple seems so sedated, with hatred accumulated. Mind is so elevated, above the rest I'm levitated. Speech is sophisticated, lyrics are saturated, with doctrine intoxicated. They waiting to duplicate it and take it. All the wisdom that's sprinkled throughout the Vedas, decisions already made up.
Are you a ghost hunter and need equipment to go out and investigate locations that have spirit activity? Well, GhostStop.com has all the equipment that you need. They have a K2 EMF meter for $59.90. Or how about a Ghost Rover cam for $199.95? Click on the banner ad at the top of the Talk in the Night website and get shopping today. GhostStop.com, your one-stop shop for all your ghost hunting needs.
Do you have a paranormal team? Are you a small-time author? Do you have a radio show that you would like to promote? Is there anything that you would like to get the word out there about but don't have a big budget? Well, Talk in the Night has an opportunity for you to sponsor the show without breaking your wallet. Contact the show at talkinthe.night@outlook.com or on the show's website or Facebook page for more details.
Do you think you have a haunted or cursed object? Well, Nicole Gaspard does, and in her book Haunted Vessels and Cursed Objects, she talks about her continued paranormal and supernatural ghost encounters, haunted dolls, and other items that are supposed to be haunted or cursed. Pick up your copy today on Amazon.com.
Would you say that we have to give up our perceptions of how it's supposed to show up?
Exactly. That's one of the main things is people have a preconceived idea and they have a lot of demands and they usually have to lose that before anything can happen.
Hypnotic Gnostics, researching the records of Cossack. In the temple, I'ma lay prostrate like the mystics is to the prophets. Christian mysticism, practice biblical cryptic wisdom, cosmic universalism, trance and elevate past your schism. Aesthetic intoxication, receiving the affirmation, offering prayers and supplication. The spirit is God of my sanctification. Hebrews 6, I'm leaving the basics, staring at clouds and countless spaceships. Body goes numb, it's a great sensation. I wrap shit up to heavenly places. The energy, it enters me. I vibrate at a high rate of frequency, eliminate all doubt and unbelief from within. I'ma transform mentally. Palms on the ground, fall to my knees. I begin to sweat and feel the heat increase. Life in the tongue power when I speak. I feel it move from my head down to my feet. Ascending the ladder. The weight of your glory, I never did that.
Okay, and we are back. I tried during the commercial break to contact my guests again, and no answer. So I don't know what happened to my guests. So hopefully everything's okay. So before the break, I was talking about my first encounter with Bigfoot and my only encounter with Bigfoot. Because now, not to say that I don't want to have another encounter with Bigfoot, because I actually posted about a week ago here in Southern California. There was a sighting last year in Crestline up in the mountains here in Southern California, and she is actually suing the federal government to get Bigfoot recognized as a creature here in California, animal here in California. And of course, when she called about the sighting, they're like, oh, it's just a bear, and tried to dismiss it like they do a lot of things. So I would love to go up there if I'm still here in California, which I don't think I will be, but I would love to go there and actually see if I can set up a couple of trail cams and stuff like that and see if I can capture on camera the elusive Bigfoot. Now, of course, I'm not going to get too close. But now, a lot of Bigfoot sightings, or videos or photos, are blurry and stuff like that. And it's because you try to hold the camera steady, especially when you see something that is 8 to 15 feet tall, and you tried to stay calm and everything like that. I'll mention Gary, his story that he shared on the show a while back about during open lines about his Bigfoot encounter up in Canada with the creature throwing a big heavy rock at his car. And if they can do that, imagine what they would do to your body if they ever caught you. So yeah, I don't want to get too close, but I do want to capture an image. Now, this lady, she said that this creature was actually staring back at her, and it was high up in a tree. So when she made that call about the creature, she probably mentioned that it was up in a tree, and the fishing game and stuff like that were probably thinking, okay, it's just a bear. That's what you saw, is a bear. Well, she says she saw different. And I wouldn't put it past those creatures being in a dense forest area. Now, of course, Big Bear, Crestline, all that area up in there, there's a lot of space that is very seldom used, or there's houses, but they're more sporadic around, especially up by Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear Lake and stuff like that. But as far as in between Crestline and Big Bear, it's a lot of open forest, and people can see there's a lot of room for those creatures to hide. Very funny, Bill. Bill posted in the chat here on Spreaker, I saw Bigfoot drinking a beer or two. Was it a commercial for a beer? Was it a beer commercial? or no? Let's go with a more crazy pun type saying. Was it a bear commercial? So, like I said, I wouldn't mind actually going to check it out. But, of course, Northern California was my first sighting with Bigfoot. And then, of course, while I was living up there, that's where like I said, I really got my start into the paranormal. And there was, of course, the place that I lived was, I want to say, about a mile away from town. It was a small little town, Fortuna, California, just south of Eureka. Now there's a little town up there. This is interesting. I want to talk about this real quick. Of course, back when I was living up there, there's a little town called Leggett, and it's so small. There's only one house. The population is 1, and what it is a ranger station. And if you heard that pop, that was my knuckles. But no, it's a small ranger station. That's all that's there. A town for one building. And of course it doesn't say that on the sign, but we always made jokes about it as we were passing it by. It says, we would make the joke that on one side of the sign it says now entering Leggett, on the other side of the sign it says now leaving Leggett. Now it was a couple of distance between each post, but it was just for that one ranger station. But as I said, the little town that I would go to was Fortuna, California. Well, as I would walk to town, there was a little farmhouse that I would pass by every time I would go to town. And this place was abandoned. I didn't know much about it. I just knew that the place had been abandoned. But there was this house. It was on land. It was clear there was no trees. And just the house, it was boarded up and everything like that. So I knew it was abandoned. And I would walk by it. Well, there was one time that I happened to walk by it, and I saw these animals. They looked real as me and you. And I'm thinking, okay, well, there's a few farmlands here. Maybe they got into this property, and it was in front of the house. There wasn't much space between the house and the roadway, but it was all fenced off. I'm thinking, okay, this is strange, but maybe I looked for the terrestrial explanation before I said it was paranormal. And I thought, okay, these animals, as I'm walking by, I'm thinking these animals got out from and I'm looking at them as I'm passing by, but I'm thinking these animals got into the property and just happened to be there in the front of that house. I thought, okay, nothing of it. And I turned to face forward, keep walking. And as soon as I got probably about 10 feet past them, something told me to turn around and look. And I turned around. Like I said, there was only the house. The house was boarded up. There was no place for them to run and hide. I mean, there was pigs, sheep, cattle, or cows, and stuff like that. And they're not going to move that fast, especially after 10 feet. But I turned around and I looked, and they were gone. They just vanished. And like I said, they looked as real as me and you. And I was like, okay. That was strange. So I walked back a little bit just to see if they might have happened to wander around the side of the house. Somehow they got extra speed to get around the side of the house. I went, looked, nothing there. I'm like, okay. So I'll just keep walking to town. Well, I walked to town, and of course, there was another spot along the roadway that I'm going to talk about afterwards that was just as creepy. No, Nicole, I never saw him again. Well, no, I can't say that. I can't say that I'd never seen him again. I just never seen him like I saw him that day. And I'll mention that in a moment. But there was this bridge that we had to cross, this creek bed and everything like that. And of course, this bridge was creepy as it was. And people had mentioned that there was a troll that lived under that bridge, Elemental. And I never saw this troll, but the people had mentioned they seen this creature that lived, this elemental that lived under that bridge. And of course, there was a creepy looking tree that was right above it, which we called the witch tree, because it was just creepy. But I would walk across that, and of course, when I would walk back from town, it would be after dark, and it's like, okay, don't let nothing come out from under this bridge. Yeah, not the internet trolls. Luckily, I haven't had those lately. But I would walk past over that bridge every night when I went to town, when I was coming back from the bar. And of course, I was too young to get into the bars, but I was able to actually get in because I looked older than I was. It wasn't until later that they found out that I was like 2 years too young to get into the bar. But of course, I didn't really drink or anything like that. I just would go in there for karaoke contests. So I would walk past this, across this bridge at night, late at night, probably about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, don't let nothing come out from underneath here, because I don't want to see it. Especially since I was alone. And most of the time I was alone, walking back. And I was like, okay. And of course, I never saw those animals out front again. Well, after seeing those animals out, when I got back from town that night, I mentioned to some of my coworkers about it. And they're like, that place is haunted. It used to be an old slaughterhouse. It looked like a farmhouse, but it was used as a slaughterhouse. And for these animals. Well, they said, let's go out there and investigate. And for those that are just getting into the paranormal field or anything like that, do not do this. Do not trespass on a location that you do not have permission to go into. Just because I want to mention that. Not only might you get hurt, but you might get arrested, or you might get something might happen to you. So do not trespass on any location. But of course, I was young, I was stupid. We went in there. There was one opening that we could squeeze through, no animals. And of course, my friends brought along a Ouija board. Now, as I've said many times before, the Ouija board is not bad. It's the intent put into it. But the way they used it, I didn't use it, because I was busy actually checking out the spirit activity and the haunting. Well, they opened up a doorway to the spirit world, and something dark attached itself to me. And being a hyper empath, it was easy for this darker spirit to kind of get attached to me. And it took a while to get rid of it. But we were in the house. We could actually see spirits. I could see the spirits of the animals, and the other group saw them too. As soon as they opened up that doorway, saw the animals of the spirits, plus the spirit of the guy that used to slaughter the animals. And you could actually see this spirit of the guy slaughtering the animal, the ghost animals. And was that an imprint? Quite possible. So it was that, but I looked up and I saw all the tools that were used for killing the animals hanging up on the ceiling. And I was like, yeah, we're up in Northern California. Don't let an earthquake happen. I told the guys, let's get out of here. Let's, yeah, we shouldn't be here. And I was like, yeah, let's get out of here. So we got out of there. It wasn't until later that I found out that one of these darker spirits attached to me. And it took a while, like I said, for me to learn to control my abilities to get rid of this thing. Now I'm a lot stronger, and I do cleansings even from remote, by remote viewing. And I've had these things actually run from me. But when I did that, it wasn't, I didn't have that knowledge how to do that. So that was when I first got into the paranormal field over 25 years ago. Now, throughout the years, I would investigate on my own. Of course, I went into places that I had permission to go into. I would join teams from here and there as I moved around. While in the Navy, whether it was in the Navy, while I couldn't really do nothing up in Chicago, Illinois when I was there for boot camp. Because, boot camp couldn't do much, but once I got out of boot camp for the Navy, I was able to go around with a couple of groups. Let's see. While I lived in Tennessee and Virginia, I would go around and talk with teams and help them out, or ask to join with them. Go on these investigations, check out these things. And it wasn't until 2010 here in Southern California that I joined a team, and I was actually a member of the team. And we did a few places, then the head of the team left and I took over the team. Well, it seemed that nobody wanted to investigate really anything. They didn't want to go out and do a lot, so I was back pretty much kind of on my own doing everything. And I met up with a few other people, and of course the couple of people that I met were owners of their own team, and we formed SRC Paranormal, which stood basically for the three towns that we lived in, which was San Jacinto, Riverside, and Corona. Well, I always made it sound like it was more of a paranormal name to the acronyms SRC. I would say when people ask what SRC stands for, I would say Spiritual Research Crew. Just to give it a more interesting sounding name rather than San Jacinto, Riverside, and Corona. But we were heads of our own teams, and nobody in each of our teams wanted to do anything, go out and investigate anything. We were the only ones that were those kind of people that loved to go out and check these things out. So we decided to form our own team. And of course, all of us had been in the field over 20 years each. I was the one with the least amount of experience at 20. Back then, I think it was 23 years in the paranormal field. Or it might have been 22, something like that. And we met up with David Ullman, and if you're new to the show or anything like that, if you've never seen Ghost Adventures Season 9, Episode 1, The Manson Curse, check out that, or check out youtube.com/David Ullman. But one of the guys knew David Ullman. He never met him in person, but he knew him through somebody else. And he talked to him, and David was kind enough to invite us out there to do a private investigation of the home. This was before David ever started opening up his home for tours. And of course, we went out there, and we're driving along the 60 freeway, doing 80 miles per hour down the freeway, mind you. My friend Steve was in the driver's seat driving there. I was in the passenger seat doing navigation and everything like that. Well, of course, let me get to this point, so this kind of fills you in. I didn't want to know anything of the location other than the Manson murders happened down the drive 150 feet away from the Ullman house. So I didn't want to know anything other than that. Well, we're about 40 miles away from Beverly Hills from the Ullman house. And I decided to pull up on the map on my phone the house, David Ullman house. And I zoomed in, and I'm like, I had this feeling come over me like, there's a portal right there. Right there. And I'm trying to show my friend Steve as he's driving down the freeway real quick in the fast lane up against the wall. Not the best thing to do in the world, but I was like, right there, there's a portal right there. And he's like, wait till we get there. And so we get there. I tell David about it. He had me tell David about what I saw 40 miles away from his home without knowing anything other than the murders. And I actually pointed out the exact spot where I saw it on the map. And David Ullman told us that that spot that I pointed out, when his house was being built, a 5-gallon bucket full of water tipped uphill, which is impossible, in the same exact spot, and I knew nothing of the location other than the murders. And I was like, okay. So, and of course, once I stepped into that spot, I could feel like almost like I was like underwater. That's the feeling that I got. And Well, we're at the commercial break. I'll get more into it after the commercial break, but we'll be right back. All the music that you're hearing tonight on the show are from my guest that was supposed to be on the show. So during the commercial break, I'll try and contact him. We'll be right back after the short commercial break.
Forms that body. And when you are identified with the consciousness rather than with the vehicle, the bondage of the vehicle has nothing to do with the bondage of the consciousness.
Inhale, exhale, unveil. Clear vision with the will can smell. The incense smoke rise in my thoughts as well. My diaphragm they expand so my lungs can swell. Sitting thoughts free like breaking out of jail. My third eye side wide like a wheel prevail. So like lights in the ether on angel cells. So just now where the Elohim will dwell. As the universe seeks to engineer of all. My soul joining with them lifting up a joyous call. Light energy flowing from within my walls. Free mind now breaking all the physics laws. There's nothing but the feeling of a thankful heart. From the dark I exist by a higher spark. A park here waiting on the most charming parts.
If you like old-time talk shows, then you must tune in to Night Dreams Talk Radio. UFOs to Bigfoot, did we say black-eyed children? You'll find Night Dreams Talk Radio on TuneIn, iHeart, iTunes, and all the major apps. But on TuneIn, they're live 7 to 9 p.m. West Coast time starting in February. With all the major guests, Night Dreams. Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Well, tune in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific on the Talk in the Night Facebook page for Ask Paranormal Phil. The show is a Facebook Live show where he gets into different topics about the paranormal and answers your questions. That's Ask Paranormal Phil every Tuesday night, only on the Talk in the Night Facebook page.
Do you have a talk radio, Facebook Live, or YouTube show and would like guests for your show but don't know where to go to get them? Well, go to radioguestlist.com and sign up today. They have all different experts in different fields and you can find the ones that are just right for your show. That's radioguestlist.com. Sign up today. It's free.
My intuition, religious systems make prisons wide, distorting your vision. Satan wreaking havoc is tragic. They call it superstition. Dogmatic schisms are written by the son of perdition. Hidden esoterics, seeking truth after knowledge. If the truth wasn't hidden, then everyone would find it. Kundalini rising, the masses hypnotized. Into seventh ray of light, ignite the third eye brightly shining. Shamanistic perceptions and teaching lessons.
To call into the show, Skype Paranormal Phil, or by phone at 951-223-5055. And now, back to Talking the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil.
Okay, and we are back with the last hour of the show. Now, I want to get back into that, but the phone lines are going to be open the second hour. If you got any questions for me or about my experiences, feel free to call in to the show and ask me. Like I said, I tried getting a hold of my guest again and could not get a hold of him. So we're going to continue on about my first experience with the Omen House. Like I said, I mentioned about the 5-gallon bucket of water tipping uphill, which is impossible, knowing nothing other than the murders happened down the drive. And just because of that whole area being a high geomagnetic field and that whole Benedict Canyon, that is what makes it so easy for the spirits to come through. Now, we went there, set up all kinds of cameras, and course, for those that do not know the Omen House, I want to mention this real quick. It's been featured on such shows as Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Witness, Haunted History, My Ghost Story. I think there's one other, I can't remember. Ghost Adventures Aftershock, that's it. And that's where Zach kind of attacked David Omen on his house and everything, when Zach was the one responsible for his own undoings at the Omen House. But that's another story for another day. So we set up all of our cameras and everything like that, and we got there early to set up everything. We didn't do a walkthrough, we just went there and set up everything. And of course, while we were setting up the camera and everything like that, David was talking with Steve about the house and everything like that a little bit, and talking about the house with Jacob, the other member of SRC Paranormal back then. Of course, it's just me and Steve now, but we're both retired from the field. We've been in the field a long time. We've seen a lot of stuff, so we just have no interest to really go out and spend our hard-earned money to investigate stuff. Now, I'll still help out people when I can, but just a message on Facebook. And I'll message that person back later. So I was walking through the house, setting up the cameras, and I could feel the difference in pressure change. I knew there was quite a bit of spirit activity in that home. And I was like, this is nothing like any place I've ever been. So we set up the cameras. We did a real quick baseline reading with the EMF sensors and stuff like that. And most places, a normal reading for EMF sensor is about 400 or 500 milligauss. Well, at the Omen House, we were getting 2,000 plus milligauss on the EMF sensor. I think there was one time that we were there, I got 6,000 to 8,000 milligauss in one certain spot. And that one certain spot was near the original portal that I had originally seen. Of course, this wasn't until David started doing tours at his house, but it was close to the location where I first mentioned about the portal. And like I said, we got 8,000 milligauss, which is unheard of. If you got a lot of activity in a lot of places, it might reach 2,000, but never 6,000 to 8,000 milligauss. So that house is a very huge hot spot for the paranormal. And of course, if you go to youtube.com/David Omen, you can see videos that were shot there at his house throughout the years, through the tours and stuff like that. But when I first went there, it was November of 2013. And of course, like I said, there was no tours, so we did our investigation. We had Beetlejuice fall over, which was a common thing at his house, but it wasn't because the Beetlejuice figurine was unstable. The Beetlejuice figurine, David could jump up and down on the floorboard. This was sitting on a heavy, I think 600-gallon fish tank. Heavy fish tank. He even tapped on the top of the fish tank real hard, and the Beetlejuice figurines would not fall over. So we captured that falling over. We caught other things there, and after that, after a few investigations out his home, David decided, let's make this a team event and start doing tours at the house, opening his home to the public, which he'd never done. He just opened it up to the paranormal TV shows. Well, we started doing tours. Of course, I was the camera guy. I was the tech guy. While Steve was the head investigator and Jacob was the cameraman, in sense. So they were the ones really going in the house while I was stuck up at the monitoring quite a bit of cameras. We started out with, I think, 8 or 14 cameras or something like that. And then, of course, when Jacob left the group, David got his own cameras set up in the house. They're there constantly, so he's constantly posting videos on his YouTube channel. And I monitor 16 cameras every time that we're there, except for when the past few tours when we did a 2-house investigation, we had 24 cameras. 24 or 25 cameras that I had to monitor. But back then we, like I said, had 8 to 14. I think it was around 14 cameras that I had to monitor. And of course I would get my chance to go down inside and check things out every once in a while, but most of the time I was upstairs in the garage on street level. Of course the house goes down. The top level is at street level, and the second and third floor are down on the hillside. But being out there had its own spirit activity also. Of course, the hills have the spirits of Native Americans that I call the Watchers. They're up in the hills above his home that they're constantly watching down, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And of course, the house at the end of the drive, or the Sharon Tate mansion, or what the property where the Sharon Tate mansion sat, where all the murders took place, was just down the road. Well, the reason why there is those Native American watchers is because on the hillside in the earthen wall room on the 3rd level of the Omen house, that is bare earth. It was never dug up when the house was built. It's just bare earth. Well, the reports are that a chief fell over on his horse, and him and the horse died on the spot there. So, over time, he was buried by the earth. Well, like I said, the earth just covered him up, but was never dug up. So that if you watch videos of that earthen wall room, you'll see that there is like some stuff for Native Americans to pay respect to this chief. So that's why there's the watchers outside on the hills above them, kind of watching down on his spirit, waiting for his return. And of course, I've had communications with the spirit. But let's go through the house real quick. And I've done Facebook Live videos going through the house on SRC Paranormal on Facebook. I've done live videos going through the house, talking about the house, so you can check out those too. But the top floor, you got the living room, the figurine room, the kitchen, everything. Now, that first room, when you go on any tour, that's where David is usually talking about the haunting in his house, as well as the murders that happened down the end of the drive. And the figurine room is right there. The Beetlejuice figurines fall over. Not just the Beetlejuice figurines. We've had Smoking Man fall over. We've had the Troll Dolls fall over. We've even had the Gina Davis figurine from Beetlejuice fall over. But it's usually Beetlejuice or the Smoking Man that falls over. So that's what happens there. Then, of course, one time we were, back when Jacob was still part of the team, David was there. We had a small tour group out in the living room area, and there was a signed poster for his movie House at the End of the Drive, where he's out there talking, and people are standing nearby, and he's probably a good 3 to 5 feet away from this picture frame, and nobody else is near it. They're a good 3 to 5 feet or more away from it. And this thing actually, of course, we didn't have a camera on it at the time. We wish we did, but ever since that time, we got a camera on that spot. But this picture frame fell. Now, it didn't just snap off the thing and want to fall real quick like a normal picture frame would. This thing actually lifted up off the wall. Up, not down. And kind of tilted and came down slowly like it was being lowered. And somebody saw that and mentioned to David, and he went over to grab it real quick like it was, because it's heavy glass. It's not plexiglass, it's glass. So it would have shattered when it hit the wall. But like I said, not the wall, the floor. And like I said, it lifted up, turned sideways a little bit at an angle, like it was being lifted up off the wall and sat down gently. And that's how slow it was coming. And it gave him enough time to get over there, grab it, and he set it down on the ground for the rest of the night. Like, okay. Now, like I said, I was outside monitoring all the cameras, so I didn't see it. But there was plenty of people on the tour. Steve saw it, stuff like that. So that was definitely strange. So that's what goes on the top floor. Second level is his office, where he's got a lot of Jack Johnson boxing memorabilia. There's been activities in there. At the end of the hallway is the laundry room. And of course, it's been reported by Ghost Adventures that and other psychics have been there, that behind that cinder block wall at the end, there is something dark behind that wall that cannot come in. Well, of course, the first time I was there, I went down there. Like I said, I was, well, not the first time, but first tour that he did, I went down there. And with another psychic, not part of our team, but she's a friend of mine. And I was having this, not really conversation, but I could see the spirit pacing back and forth. And she saw the spirit too, but she didn't say anything until after I was done watching this thing. But it would pace back and forth, look me in the eyes, and then pace back the other way, and then back towards me, looking me in the eyes, almost to say, as you can see me. And I was like, yeah, I can see you. Not out loud, but I said it in my mind. And I told her about it, what I was seeing. And she's like, yeah, I saw that too. So she validated what I saw. But I believe that spirit that I saw was Jack Johnson's spirit. Because that memorabilia that he has is from Jack Johnson. Stuff that Jack Johnson wore when he was boxing in the early 1900s. So that's his stuff. And so I believe that was him that I saw. Now that's about it for the second level. The last part of the house, the lower level. And I want to get into this before the break, because after the break, I want to take phone calls. If you got questions about my experiences, I want to hear your calls. But the lower level, that's where most of the activity seems to happen. Now, of course, there's the theater room, where a lot of the seances go on during the tours. We've had activity in there where one time after a tour, Steve was down there, I was upstairs with David and Lilia talking, but we still have the cameras rolling. Of course, the cameras are always rolling at the Omen House. He just doesn't post all the videos. Sorry, I got another message on Facebook. But he was down there. He was searching for a K2 meter that he loaned a guest, and thought, okay, maybe the guest left it down there or left it somewhere in the house. So he was searching, and of course, he didn't get scared, but this UCLA teddy bear came off of the shelf, and it was set back quite a bit of ways on the shelf, so it would have took force to knock that thing over. And there was no earthquake to knock it over, because other stuff would have fallen over. But only thing that fell was this teddy bear. So that has happened there. We've gotten voices and stuff during seances, through digital recordings. Quite a bit has happened in there. When David was with a paranormal TV show or something like that, they took a picture of this picture frame. Well, the cameraman had his hands up for the camera, so if you saw the reflection, that's what you would have saw, was his hands up there on the camera. Well, in the image on the frame, it shows a man with his arms to his side. And the cameraman was not standing like that. So there's that. Now step into the third level guest bedroom, and there's a few spirits in there. There's a little girl spirit. We don't know where she came from. And for some reason, she actually trusts me quite a bit when I go every time. She wants to see me every single time that I go there. And I bet you she's missing me right now. She knows she can visit me. But her name is Gwendolyn. And we don't know where she came from. We don't know how she died or anything. We know her age and stuff like that. But that's all we know. We don't know how she died. We don't know where she came from. And David never had kids, so that's not his kid or anything. But we were down there. We would use the K2 meter to almost play tag with her. So she kind of got used to us. Nowadays, he's got a keyboard that was used in the movie. Bill, how old was she? She was about, I believe we said 8 years old. 7 to 8 years old. But David's got a keyboard from the Poltergeist movie 2015 version of it, because they did a event there for the Blu-ray thing for it, and the Blu-ray release party. That's what it was, and that keyboard would go off. And it was her playing it. She loved playing the keyboard. And she was ecstatic because this room was made up to look like the little girl's room in the movie. It completely changed. The bed that he has in there was taken out. Mirrors were covered up to make it look like the closet in that house. Stuff like that. I don't know. No, that's not the spirit, Nicole. You got a different one. But Gwendolyn does like to sing too. We've actually got her on recording singing, but the one you got, Nicole, is a different one. There is another spirit that we call the Banshee. A lady spirit, female spirit that is in that third level guest bedroom bathroom that hangs out by the tub that likes to scream at people. And she likes to lock people in that bathroom too. Which is interesting because the lock's on the inside. So how do people get locked in there? Well, she finds a way. Yeah, as Bill said, that's Emily, not Gwendolyn. Then, of course, that room also, there is an aggressive spirit there. He doesn't like the spirits to communicate with. He scares the heck out of Gwendolyn. And that's why she actually calls me down there quite a bit, because when he's being a pain in the butt, that darker spirit, she wants me down there to protect her. and I will go down there every time to protect her. Of course, we haven't had much dealings with the darker spirit down there, the aggressor, since I kind of tossed his butt out. But yeah, so we had that. Now that room also was reported where a guest was staying there one time, well before I even came there for the first time, and was reported that that person was levitated up to the towards the roof. So there's quite a bit of activity in there. Now, last room, and I'm going to mention that right after the commercial break. We'll also take phone calls if you want to call and ask me about my experiences in the paranormal and everything. We'll take that after the commercial break. We'll be right back. I wish I could have got a hold of my guest, but I'll send him an email and find out what happened. We'll be right back.
Broken to tears. It's like I think about you every minute. It's like I can still feel you.
It's the point of my life, a point of no return. No looking back at the second guessing. I wanna burn. I wanna yearn for the most high until I die. I wanna learn from Jah fly into the sky. When asking why does gravity pull me when I'm high? I've fallen soldier, just draw me closer into your side. And never mind the things that I did when I was wrong. I wanna find what I've been seeking all along. And when I'm gone, remember me when you play the song. I made it home and I found a place where I belong. With spirits roam in Christ is seated on the throne. I found a peace that passes. I mean, I found shalom. I've lived life to the fullest with no regrets. My wife and daughter, they kept me.
Do you want to know how to attract love, money, jobs, success? Well, check out livelifemadeToOrder.com. If you go to the products page and mention Talking the Night, you will get 50% off of your order. That's livelifemadeToOrder.com. Be sure to check out the show's website at talkingthenight.weebly.com for some great content such as Story of the Day, This Day in History, and much more. Also, if you missed the show, check out the show's archive page under the radio show tab where you can find all the shows listed. And be sure to sign up for the Talking the Night newsletter.
Would you like to take part in a special live broadcast of Talk in the Night, a meet and greet with me and David Oman, and how about a 6-hour ghost investigation at the Oman House, which has been featured on paranormal TV shows such as Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Paranormal Witness, Haunted History, and My Ghost Story? Well, go to Talk in the Night on Facebook and click on the event and get your ticket today before they sell out.
He said, you've always been interested in UFOs and otherworldly things, right? And I said, yes, I have. He said, would you like to see some UFOs up close tonight? And I said, I'd love to. He said, well, come on, I can do that for you.
There is a knowledge given wisdom for you to behold. Invisible college in the silence, the way it's shown. Illuminate the path to the seeker who walks alone. Into the mind of a mystic, what a secret would be made known. We may hold the wisdom keeper to traverse the sky. Communicate telepathic waves deep in your mind, beyond space and time. Where we touch through meditation, divine design. We move past your speculation. Radiant light being traveled from other planets in a secret way within a state of overstaying.
Call into the show, Skype Paranormal Phil, or by phone at 951-223-5055. And now, back to Talking the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil.
Okay, and we are into the last half hour of the show. Um, Unfortunately, my guest did not call in tonight. I apologize for that. I will find out what happened with my guest. I'll get him on the show at a later time, but hopefully, maybe. I don't know. But tonight I decided, since my guest wasn't going to contact me or didn't get a hold of me, I don't know what happened. I'm not going to open up myself to the spirit world right now to actually find out. So I decided to talk about my own encounters with the paranormal. Now, I want to open up the phone lines where you can call in and ask me questions about my experiences, but in the paranormal field. But I want to finish talking about the Omen House real quick. There's one last room that I want to cover real quick, and that is the Earthen Wall Room, where the Native American chief is buried, and we've gotten some other activity in there. One person was sitting in a chair, and she got up and started to run out like she was attacked, or not attacked, but like there was an earthquake, but it was only her chair that she felt shaking. The other person beside her didn't feel nothing, and he was trying to hold her back, and she got up and ran towards the door thinking an earthquake, and she talked to somebody in the other room, in the theater room, and they're like, no earthquake. So that we caught on camera. That's up on David's YouTube channel. So that's pretty much the whole house there. There's plenty more activity that has gone on there. That's the room where a wine bottle slipped out of the wine rack. I've tested that. I've stomped on the thing, and no wine bottle could come out of there. As hard as you stomp, it would not shake out of there. So the wine, and of course the wine bottle was not on the edge. We looked at the video. The wine bottle was fully into the rack. So I looked at every explanation I could to say that it was terrestrial, but I couldn't. So that's basically the David Omen house. I can tell you so much about that house. It ain't funny. I've been to that house over 100 times since late 2013. So yeah, they are sturdy. They're full of wine. So it would take a lot of force to actually move those. So, like I said, if you got a question about the Omen House, feel free to ask me. I know. So those are my experiences. I even had a UFO experience one time, and I would love to have another one eventually. Now, Bell says, what if a person can use radio frequency waves to communicate with spirits without words? Is it possible? I wonder if it's possible. It is quite possible, because the spirits use the electromagnetic field to use to communicate, such as using digital recorders. It's kind of like a radio wave in sense, so they can. It's possible. Sorry, I just was trying not to burp or anything. I had a hiccup. I had the hiccup, so I was silent there for a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's quite possible. Like I said, the phone lines will be open for the next 15 minutes, because the last 5 minutes I want to talk about what we got coming up for the show tomorrow and Wednesday, and of course Friday night. After this week, I don't know what is going to happen, but I'll mention about that also for those that might have tuned in late. Nicole says, is it easier to locate portals by remote viewing or use other tools like pendulums? To each their own on what tools they want to use. Of course, like I said, I do it by remote viewing. A lot of times I'll remote view a location. Or I can sense where the portal is. The vortex, the fissure, whatever you want to call it. I can sense where it is if I'm at the location. But there are people that do not have my abilities that will use tools such as a pendulum, dowsing rods. We've had people use dowsing rods at the Omen House. So if they can't sense it, then feel free to use tools to see if they can locate it. Of course, as I say many times over and over, if you put negative thought intention into using the tool, that's what you're going to get out. If you put that positive, that's what you're going to get out. Yes, they can be massive at times, like the one that I viewed. This thing was huge. Like I said, it felt stepping into this where the portal was. It was like stepping from up in here in the clean air to like stepping underwater without a mask. It was that heavy feeling. And you can sense it as you walked in. It doesn't take a psychic to feel the presence of a portal or anything like that. You can sense it when you walk into it. You'll feel almost like a lightheadedness, like you're almost underwater. Type feeling. We've even had it to where everything gets blurry. And that was just a small fissure that had that happen to us, where the thing was moving around. And when we looked outside the third level guest bedroom, everything looked blurry. I just got email. Okay, I wanted to make sure it wasn't from my guest. But everything looked blurry, like almost like if you were underwater and you were trying to, or look through and like you're trying to look through water, and everything's like kind of fuzzy. That's how it looks. Yeah, now David also feels it too, but he feels it a lot because he's there with it. And I felt it a lot because I've been there so many darn times and I know where they're at. Now, they do move in that house. Those portals do move. The big one that I mentioned that was outside of his house moved down to the side of his house, and there's little fissures throughout his house where the spirits can come through. Now Bill says, you said something you did, haunted locations you did, and you had attachment. How did you get it off of you? Now that took quite a bit to do, and basically what I did is I learned to connect more with my spirit guide through meditation. I got 4 spirit guides that help me when I'm doing cleansing. But I learned to connect with my spirit guide, and that's the one that actually helped me get rid of this thing. So you have to learn how to connect with your spirit guide before you can get rid of something dark and learn from it. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. It took me, I want to say, 5 years to get rid of it. So in that 5 years, I had quite a bit of bad luck. But yeah, it took me 5 years to get rid of it. And you have to connect with your spirit guide. Now, I can't tell you the easiest way to contact your spirit guide, because everybody's got their own way of doing it, and my way was through meditation. Like I said, if you go to talkingtonight.weebly.com, go to the vlog on how to see and communicate with spirits. That vlog, that's the way to open up your third eye, and once you do that, you'll learn who your spirit guide is. And like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while to learn how to open that third eye once you've pretty much lost that ability. But like I said, everybody's got their own way of meeting their own spirit guide. As Nicole said, I heard my spirit guide when I got lost in the forest. I guess that's how I met mine. And like I said, everybody's got their own way of figuring out who their spirit guide is. But they will guide you on things. No matter how tough of a time you're having, they will guide you. You might not know that they're there, but they're there, and they will guide you. Like I said, I got 4 of them, and I use them because when I'm doing a home cleansing of something dark, sometimes that energy is so dark that it requires all 4 of them to help me do the cleansing. But that's what makes me so good at what I do as far as cleansing, because I've actually gotten called in before a Catholic priest would be called in to do like an exorcism or anything like that. I've gotten called in before them. So that's how good my abilities are. Now we got 12 minutes, 11 minutes left in the show. Like I said, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in and ask me about my experiences and my encounters with the paranormal, since my guest didn't show up tonight, I apologize. I will contact the guest and find out what went on, why he wasn't able to tune in or call and everything and be on the show. Like I said, maybe there was a bad snowstorm or bad weather over there. But I'll get a hold of him after the show and find out why. But if you want to call into the show, ask me about my encounters, the phone lines are open. Numbers to call in are 951-223-5055 or by Skype, Paranormal Phil. All one word, Paranormal Phil. Phone lines are open. I got time for maybe 1-2 calls before the end of the show. And I'm going to close this because my guest did not come, so I don't need the questions that I was going to ask him. And I'm not going to try and give him a call. So, like I said, if you got any questions for me about my encounters and everything like that, I would love to hear them. Like I said, I got time for 1 or 2 calls. Don't be afraid to call in. Or if you're listening and want to pop in the chat and ask your question there, that's fine too, but I prefer the calls. Because it's more personal that way. But yeah, I've experienced a lot in my lifetime, and I use that experience to help others. Now Nicole says, I heard Emily sing it again yesterday when I played mostly classical music at the piano. Must be her favorite. Yeah, I bet. Well, she likes Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven, so she must love classical music. But I've had a lot of experiences over the long time that I've been in the field. Like I said, over 25 years. I retired last year, the beginning of last year, from the field. And I just don't have the desire to actually go out and do anything. But, anymore, really. But I will still help out when people need help. Because a gift that I have is wasted if I don't use it. So that's why I help people. And of course, I will continue to help people, especially if they got something dark there, or they put the wrong intent into a Ouija board or other tool that can be used. And I know I mentioned the Ouija board a lot, but the other tools I'm talking about are, even a digital recorder can be used badly. The wrong intent put into it. Apps that are out on the phone can be used wrong too. It's the intent that you put into it that is what you're going to get out of it. So yeah. Now we got 7 minutes left in the show. Now tomorrow night, for Ask Paranormal Phil, I am going to be talking about, in the first hour, time travel. We're going to get into some of the cases that are out there for time travel. We're going to get into, is it possible to travel through time? And if you think about it, believe it or not, we're traveling through time right now. 1 second at a time. But I'm talking about traveling back in time or into the future. Is it possible? Can it happen? We'll get into that. We'll get into some of the stories about time travel in the first hour. And then in the second hour, it'll be open chat where you can ask me questions about the paranormal. If you got questions, any questions, it don't have to be about my encounters like tonight, but any question about the paranormal, because like I said, I've been in the field so long that I've learned quite a bit. Then of course Wednesday, my guest doesn't have a picture up on the website, but we're going to be talking about computer security. We're going to be talking about new technology coming out with Kevin Sisko. So we're going to be talking about the new technology coming out technologies coming out that even the mainstream media won't even talk about. So we'll have him on the show talking about that. And then, of course, Friday night is back to Friday Night Open Lines, where you, the listeners, can call into the show, give me a call, ask me, share your stories, experiences, or questions that you might have about the paranormal or anything. And that, as a matter of fact, anything. So that's what we got coming up for the show. Now, for those that might have tuned in late or might have missed the Facebook Live video that I did earlier, because I am dealing with a little bit of an issue and very few people know about what's going on with me. I'm not going to mention it over I'll mention that in a minute, Nicole. Because of things going on right now, Talk in the Night will probably be canceled pretty soon. But it won't stay gone for long, because I love doing this show. I love talking to people and everything like that. I love doing the show. So it won't be gone for long, but until I get things situated and on my feet going real good, then I will bring back the show. But I'll keep everybody posted on when the show will stop airing and when it comes back. I promise you, I will keep you informed. As far as Ask Paranormal Phil, however, that does not require internet access, so that one I can do with my phone data plan, so I'll continue to do Ask Paranormal Phil every Tuesday night. And it might not be about a topic. It might be just a question and answer session, basically. But I will do that every Tuesday night. So, like I said, this week we're going to keep up with the shows. Next week, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. So, I'll let you know. And, of course, check out talkingthenight.weebly.com for all the great content, such as Story of the Day, This Day in History, and so much more. And also check out Fans of Talking the Night group on Facebook. And you can also check out the show's Facebook page at facebook.com/talkingthenight. Give the page a like. Join the group. Talk about the show. Talk about anything that you want in the Talking the Night. Fans of Talking the Night. Not on the Talking the Night Facebook page, but fans of Talking the Night. You can talk about things about the show or anything like that there. Now, if you want a reading done, it might be a while before I do readings again, just because of everything going on. But if you ever want a reading done, or you want to contact me directly, you can send me a message on the website. You can send me a message through the Facebook page, or you can send me an email at talkingthenight@outlook.com. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I apologize that my guest didn't show up. I'll try to find out what went on there. But, like I said, I got some great listeners that are great understanding, that they're well respected listeners. So, again, all the music that was played was by my guest, Truth Seeker, Derek Grosskurth. So check out his website, truthseeker.com. talkingtonight.com. You can find a link up on the show's website. So until tomorrow night on Facebook Live on Talking the Night Facebook page, when we talk about time travel and open up the chat for the second hour for questions, I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talking the Night.